not going to bog you down with the changes. I'm just going to go straight into what exactly is new and of relevance. All right. So part one, if you're taking the exam, you need to be aware of the breakdown of the book, just to know that you've covered your bases. All right. So we have an introduction, and then we talk about a system for value delivery. That's all about projects, programs, and portfolios. If you know that mantra, you are good. Don't sweat it. Don't fret it. So we talk about creating value, organizational governance systems. Think about it. What is a system? A system is a collection of processes, procedures, and methods put in place to deliver something. At the end of the day, an organizational governance system is a system that is used for governance. What is governance? Governance is the framework within which authority is exercised. So we're talking about systems for exercising processes, procedures, rules, and guidelines in a firm. That's it. Functions associated with projects. Why don't we take a look at that really quick? So if you've got your book to hand, why don't we journey down there and take a look? So this is going into 2.3. At a really high level, one, providing oversight and coordination. You know that role. That's what project managers do, right? Number two, presenting objectives and feedback. That's a no-brainer, okay? And then number three, facilitating and support on the project. Number four, performing project work and contributing insights. Number five, applying expertise. Number six, providing business direction and insight. Number seven, providing resources and direction. And number eight, maintaining governance. People who fail a governance function approve and support recommendations made by the project team and monitor project progress in achieving desired outcomes. It's that simple. That's what it is. So chapter 2, as you're beginning to see, is not so scary after all. Now, 2.4 goes into what we call the project environment. This is a no-brainer. If you've read, its predecessor, in fact, here, if we open the relevant page, what it reads is factors internal to the organization can arise from the organization itself, a portfolio, a program, another project, or a combination of these. These include artifacts, practices, or internal knowledge. So what they've done here, they pretty much bundled the discussion about OPAs and EEFs into one header. Internal environment. Process assets are looked at as part of the internal environment. Governance, documentation, data assets, knowledge assets, security and safety, organizational culture, many things. Just think about it like this. We have the internal environment, things that could affect the project from internal, and we have the external environment. Now, for those of you used to the 6th edition, okay, what you need to remember is that the 7th is different. The 7th edition breaks down EEFs and OPAs into two broader buckets: internal factors, right? The internal environment and the external environment. So let's finish talking about the internal environment. We have infrastructure, information technology, software, resource availability, employee capability. All those things could affect the project, right? But then we go into external environment. This is on page 18. And it says factors external to the organization can enhance, constrain, or have a neutral influence on project outcomes. Marketplace conditions, social and cultural influences, regulatory environment, commercial databases like standard cost estimating data, academic research, industry standards, financial considerations, and physical environment. So what they've done in the 7th edition, they've just taken EEFs, internal and external, and OPAs. They've bunched all of those together, and they're referring to these as the project environment. And under project environment, you've got internal environment and external environment. I really wish they had kept them as EEFs and OPAs, but just be prepared to find a change in that lingo eventually. It will get phased out. You won't really hear much talk about that, except from oldies who took the old PMP exams and so on. All right, so that's 2.4. 2.5, product management considerations. Not only are projects undertaken to deliver services and results, but they are also undertaken to deliver products. And this talk about products is very important because majority of the projects that you see around you, they have something tangible associated with them. A product, like a deliverable, we could be referring to a set of documents. We could be referring to something that is not necessarily a vehicle or software or hardware, but it's a product of some sort. Okay, so when we talk about product, a product is an artifact that is produced, is quantifiable, and can be either an end item itself or a component system. And they've got a product life cycle. And what you need to know about this product life cycle, I'd like to break it down for you really quick, just in case you get questions about this. And to be quite honest, this is not new. Like I always say, this has been around for a long time. In fact, back in 2010, when I started training for the 4th edition, this was something I trained all the time. The difference between a product life cycle and a project life cycle. So when you talk about a product life cycle, you need to think about a product as being across a large expanse. Let's do that again like that. A large expanse of time. And if this is a product life cycle, what you need to remember is that a product life cycle consists or could consist of several projects. You could have project 1. Let's say this was the very first project that authorized the product. And then you have a project to improve on that product and maybe ultimate releases and revamps and so on. And whether you're looking at a building or you're looking at hardware or software, this is what happens. You go through different projects for the sustenance of the product. And ultimately, let's say you get to PN, where N is the final number of projects you did for the product. You get to the end, it says, product management may initiate programs or projects at any point in the product lifecycle to create or enhance specific components. So that's the idea, okay? Let's say we created a deliverable and it's gone through different projects. It's going to get to the ultimate one. And that at that point could lead to folding up the entire product like a building. We talk about demolishing a building. So imagine a building. P1 is the initial construction. P2 is you do some refurbishments. P3, more refurbishments and technology updates. P4, maybe building another wing. And then PN, after so many years, it's going to get to the end of its life, right? That's the idea. Okay. And then we show that we could either bucketize these at a higher level as a program. So you could have programs at this higher level. Let's say all that's program 1 and all this stuff here is program 2. And the idea is we could authorize programs and projects for a product. And then it says, in some instances, a program can encompass the full life cycle of a product or service to manage the benefits and create value for the organization more directly. So again, that keyword is value, 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 value. All right. And that's one new thing that people taking the exam, just be aware of it. I'm not even asking you to open up your PMBoK Guide 7th edition. Just know, your buddy Phil told you the stuff that is in this document, know it at a high level. Okay. Don't go scrambling for the book just yet. Eventually do that when those who are taking the exam much further down. But for those folks taking the exam like 2021 mid to end, I don't really suggest it because PMI just changed the exam. They're not going to other changes anymore. So the things that you find in the 7th edition, they're not groundbreaking. And I don't say that to diminish them. I'm just saying that to get you comfortable to understand that a lot of project management that you read about, that you hear about, it's not breaking news. It's not new. It's not like, oh, Scrum, never heard that before. You see what I'm saying? It's not that. And by the way, Scrum is only mentioned once or twice in this. So don't start sweating. Be cool, be calm. Watch this again and again. I'm just going to make you comfortable. All right. So that's that. All right. The next thing that we talk about here is the project management principles. All right. And the project management principles are founded on the PMI Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct, first and foremost. It says principles can, but do not necessarily reflect morals. A code of ethics is related to morals. A code of ethics for a profession can be adopted by an individual or profession to establish expectations for moral conduct. And they tell you, go check out the PMI Code of Ethics. This has the responsibility, respect, fairness, and honesty configuration. And then it reads, the 12 principles of project management are aligned with the values identified in the PMI Code of Ethics. So you get the idea. All right, so we have project management principles, we have general management principles, and there's overlap of these, okay? Now, it reads, the principle labels are listed here without any specific weighting or order. So as we go through them, just know they don't have any weighting or order. Number one, be a diligent, respectful, and caring steward. That speaks for itself. What is stewardship? Stewardship is all about acting responsibly and being a custodian of what is entrusted to you. So if various resources have been entrusted to you, the idea is for you to take care of those resources, okay? Those people who are stewards demonstrate a broad commitment to financial, social, and environmental impacts of the projects they support. A holistic view of stewardship considers financial, social, technical, and sustainable environmental awareness. Now, you know, we talk about servant leadership in the Agile Practice Guide. Well, stewardship is one component of servant leadership, okay? One component of it. Let's go to the next one. The next one is create a collaborative project team environment. So just think about the Agile manifesto that says business people and developers must work together daily, okay? But how can they work together daily if there is not a good environment? And it says, give the team the support they need. Create that environment, give them the support they need. This is echoing that, okay? So project teams are made of individuals with diverse skills, T-shaped skills. Project teams that work collaboratively can accomplish a shared objective more effectively. So when we talk about the team environment, big one here overall is the environment of trust and a safe space. And that permeates agile, predictive, whatever the project you're working on. It reads, project teams work within organizational and professional cultures and guidelines, often establishing their own local culture. A collaborative project team environment facilitates alignment with other organizational cultures and guidelines, individual and team learning, and optimal contributions to deliver desired outcomes. So you get the idea. One of the big things talked about here is team agreements. You've already read this, page 50 in the Agile Practice Guide. Just understand that what they're talking about on page 29, it has a number of alternate names. You can call it team contract, social contract, team agreements, ground rules, and so on. So you got to understand that. And it says team agreements represent a set of behavioral parameters and working norms established by the project team and upheld through individual and project team commitment. Then it talks about organizational structures. Project teams use, tailor, and implement structures that help coordinate the individual effort associated with project work. Now, when we talk about these structures, got to understand roles and responsibilities, allocation of employees, formal committees, and standing meetings. All of that, we talk about organizational structures. But one thing I want you to remember in the world of Agile, which you'll be hearing a lot more frequently, you got to remember that in Agile world, it's a self-organizing team. It's not a team that is managed by centralized leadership. It has decentralized decision-making and management overall, okay? Still here in teams, there are many other things we talk about, how the team works, authority, accountability, and responsibility. And it says clarity on roles and responsibilities can improve team cultures. So a lot of what I'm reading here, honestly, it's not new. This has been in various publications from the PMI, all right? Let's go to the next one, stakeholders. Effectively engage with stakeholders. Again, it goes back to that business people and developers working together daily. It goes back to collaborating versus negotiating, right? Customer collaboration versus stakeholder or negotiation. You don't want to think about negotiating. You want to think about working with them and collaborating. And that takes you into the topic of engaging stakeholders. Why do we engage them? Because we're a team. They're part of the wider team. That's the idea. So it reads, stakeholders influence projects' performance and outcomes. Project teams serve other stakeholders. You see how it said other stakeholders? Because the team members are stakeholders in and of themselves. So project teams serve other stakeholders by engaging with them. Stakeholder engagement proactively advances value delivery. That's the whole idea. The more we collaborate, the better it's going to be. So there are many things here that we could talk on and on about, but you kind of get the idea. I'll just mention a few. Outcomes, that's important. Not the output, but the outcomes. That's important. So it reads, stakeholders can affect many aspects of a project, including but not limited to outcomes, by enabling or blocking work required for the desired outcomes. So they could stand in your way, right? Culture, by establishing or influencing or even defining the level of character or engagement of the project team. Stakeholders are really powerful, and this is just calling your attention to that and saying, get them engaged, do what you need to do, manage stakeholder engagement. That's really what this is. Moving on, we've got focus on value. I could talk about this, no joke, for the next 1 hour nonstop, because when you talk about how PMI has evolved, going from this to this,